Let's talk about what Hillary Clinton's suggesting there, and has actually been said more directly that there may be a no-fly zone imposed in Libya, whether it be by NATO or unilaterally by the United States. One of the United States senior officers, the head of CENTCOM, General James Mattis, has said, don't be under any illusions. If there's a no-fly zone, there will be fighting. We'll have to take out the Libyan air defences. Do you think the people where you are, at least, understand that this would be another battle for them to have to endure?
I don't know, but as far as they're concerned, this would take a threat away from them, because the last remaining threat, I think the last serious remaining threat, is the air force of Gaddafi, whatever of that remains. And they're worried that he may, as a final act of retribution, set the air force on them, and that could cause problems. I mean, on the ground side, his forces are 600 kilometres away. They don't pose that much of a threat any longer. But in the air, they do. So I don't think they've thought it out, because it's still fresh in their minds. They are aware of the fact that 2 American warships are somewhere off the coast in the Mediterranean there, and they're very buoyed by that. But they also, you know, don't want American troops there. They don't want American forces. They don't want an Iraq or in Afghanistan. So they want help, but they want it so far. They think it will go peacefully in the end, but if not, they think they will have to take matters into their own hands and then liberate the entire country themselves. Yeah,
I mean, this is sort of a rather bizarre thought, isn't it, that the people of one city would be able to liberate an entire country just because they feel that they've got the will with them. I mean, is it realistic that those people there would be prepared to march on Tripoli?
I'm not sure. It depends on who you talk to. There's a lot of bravado going around, a lot of people with guns and saying they're prepared to fight. But realistically speaking, as you point out, it takes a lot more than just bravado to actually do something. And we just lost the light there. But I think basically all these scenarios are being sort of weighed up now. We've got generals both in exile and here working out the military strategy. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination. You've got some very seriously armed pro-Gaddafi forces 600 kilometres away. You would have to go through them. They've got heavy weapons. There's 4,000 fighters. There'll be a lot of bloodshed. So if that can be avoided, the people here want to avoid it. If not, they'll have to take it one step further and work out what they'll have to do.
Tony, in the report we heard before we came to you, we saw people there saying, listen, I'm finding it really difficult to get hold of food, in fuel as well. Where you are, which was one of the first places, if you like, to be liberated, do the same problems exist or not at all?
No, Benghazi is much better prepared, and it's much better serviced at the moment because it's closer to the Egyptian border. We've got French planes landing at the airport bringing aid and medicine. They say they have enough food. They say there is a shortage of medicine, though, so it can get worse over the days, but I think at the moment they're okay. Further west, closer to the zone of confrontation, if you like, they're having more problems. I was there yesterday, and we spoke to doctors. They don't have enough medicine, and the food supplies are running out. So there is concern that they will not be equipped enough to carry on for the next few weeks. But I think this situation is being addressed by the various committees which are being set up and taking care of the administration of the area.
Thanks very much, Tony. Let's go live to Cairo. We've got the Norwegian Foreign Minister there to talk to us, Jonas Gahr Støre. Mr. Støre, thank you very much indeed. I'll talk about what's happening in Egypt in just a moment. But first of all, the events in Libya. Do you expect a no-fly zone to be imposed?
Well, I think that merits a lot of reflection. I mean, it has to respond to a very clear challenge. It needs a very firm UN Security Council mandate. And I'm not certain that the military intervention at this stage is going to answer the challenges on the ground. But the debate on these options, I think, follows up from the Security Council resolution over the weekend. The Security Council should watch this situation very closely, but I think that would be a very dramatic step.
So you would be against it at the moment?
Well, again, I think the Security Council should keep all options open, but such a measure at least will need a very thorough debate and a mandate from the Security Council. And I think that would be a very dramatic step, and I am not certain that that is exactly what is called for inside Libya at the moment.
Would it have to be a NATO-led force that imposed the no-fly zone?
Well, not necessarily. Again, that depends on how the UN Security Council would debate it. I don't see that a military intervention from NATO on that side of the Mediterranean is a recipe for much good. I think that we have to be very cautious about that. External military intervention in the past has created situations which have not been conducive for peaceful solutions. So again, I'm on the skeptical side.
Now, what about your own country? Red Cross teams being sent. Can you tell us what they're doing and what problems they're facing?
Well, Norway has actively supported the different humanitarian missions, including supporting the ICRC with teams of medical people from Norway serving in those delegations. We know that by supporting the ICRC, aid arrives where it should arrive, and we support effective delivery. We also support the High Commissioner of Refugees with expertise, so that this quite dramatic refugee situation on both sides of Libya can be handled. I think here again the Secretary General should be encouraged to see how the different UN services will be able to respond to the various needs of Libya in the days to come from a humanitarian perspective. In addition, I called for yesterday in Geneva that the Security Council should address the situation of a power vacuum the day and the moment that Gaddafi regime ends. Because a vacuum in that part of Africa is for nobody's good, and that should be also part of the Security Council's follow-up of last weekend's resolution.
There's going to be a vote most likely within the next few hours at the UN General Assembly on whether Libya should remain part of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Do you expect it to be kicked off?
Yes, frankly, I do so, and I think that would be the right outcome. I think Libya, under its present leadership, cannot be a member of the UN Human Rights Council, shooting at its own people, mismanaging its own responsibility. It will be an historic first, but I think it will be the Human Rights Council living up to its mandate, and it will be the UN living up to its mandate.
Just want to ask you one question, which is much broader since you're in Cairo. I read an article you wrote in the New York Times in which you say the West has got to get used to the idea that the future of the region will be increasingly shaped by voices coming out of a young, pluralistic civil society. Do you think the West has got it wrong in the past when it comes to sort of thinking about the way these countries are going?
Well, it's hard to get it right, you know. My point has been to say that the West has bought for too long time the version of authoritarian regime which presents opposition as being extreme, Islamist radical, bordering on terror. If something is bordering on terror, Norway gives full support to pursuing them before the courts, limiting their outreach, combating them with all necessary means. But I think we have committed, or there has been a double standard here, by saying that all opposition groups fall in that camp. What we have seen in Egypt, in Tunisia, and now in other countries is a young generation, well-informed, with clear aspirations for freedom, democracy, development and human rights. We should respond to them as we respond to other democratic opposition groups. I've been to the Tahrir place today, to Square today, and met part of that youth. I will meet them during the rest of my stay. And clearly, we should sit down and listen.